And hello again from the Crotchety Old Men podcast. Hey, I'm Gary Smith. Happy 2026. We made it, y'all. We made it. But anyway,
Hallelujah.
hey there. Yes, sir. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. So I think by now everybody should know us, but hey, we'll go back one more time. Our names are there. I'm Gary Smith, and my co-host here with me, PC. I'll call him PC, but Paul Clemens, and of course, George Crumley. Gentlemen, Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy new year to you brothers. How you guys doing?
I'm excited about getting this bad boy kicked off. This year has a lot in store for us all. First of all, we're thankful to be here, certainly making it into this new year, new season in our life. So I'm excited about it. I'm ready to get it rocking and rolling.
You ready to get rocking and rolling? That's good,
Yeah.
man. That's what we got to be. Got to be full of energy and ready to go. So yeah, I'm here and I'm ready to go. Also,
All right.
it's a beautiful day.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get it cracking, man. PC, what's up, man? What we talking about today?
You know what? We're going to be talking today about exercising and how important it is in your life to really be moving. You couldn't have said it better yourself, Gary, when you started talking about rocking and rolling. We need to incorporate some form of exercise in our life on a daily basis, and there's certainly a lot of reasons why. I know I admire my boy George. He's death on exercise. So he's always exercising, whether it's bike, whether it's running, whether you're washing dishes or whatever you're doing. Movement is so extremely important, especially at our age. And I'm not going to tell anybody what our ages are, but we're up there. So carry on, gentlemen. let's exercise this motion here.
Yeah. When we talk about exercise, you said it very succinctly. It's all about movement. When you're past 60, let's say, but exercise, before I get too far ahead of myself, exercise is a lifestyle, primarily. If you're used to moving in terms of, a lot of people that may have played sports when they were younger, high school, what have you, you're somewhat of accustomed to a certain amount of movement anyway. But however, as we get older, I don't know all the intricacies about muscle mass and how you lose all that sort of stuff, but movement is the key thing, whether you're going to a gym or your quote unquote exercise, or you're just moving around your house, because you don't have to have a gym membership to keep it moving. And so what we'd like to really get into is some of the forms of exercise that you can get. There are some people out there that may have some hindrances with knees and what have you, but even that, there's ways that you can exercise, even with chair exercises and just simply taking walks. Okay. But the most important thing is to keep your body moving. And I'm sure we'll delve deeper into that, why movement is so important. George, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are more so taking back your health. I think we're under attack from the pharmaceuticals. I don't want to generalize and say doctors, but here again, health organizations. I think we're missing the boat because with all the processed foods, all the things that are coming at us, all these different drugs and things like that. You can't look at the 6 o'clock news without seeing, 4 or 5 different drugs that you're supposed to go to your doctor and say, doctor, do I need this? So, when I look at exercise, I think it's more important as far as the benefits. And I look at and I approach life like that. It's the why. Why do we exercise? For example, exercise boosts memory. A lot of people are suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. And because of the things that are released in your body, when you exercise, can, boost your memory. And I guess, Gary, you better say that disclaimer, we're not doctors, we're not professionals, this is our opinion and this is based on our experience. So please, whatever you take from this, consult your physician, read books and get the information yourself. But, I know from, what I've read and, what I've experienced, there are a lot of benefits from exercise. It's just not sweating, losing weight, or, muscle tone or looking better. There's a lot of things that go on within your body that benefit when you exercise. You guys agree?
George, you mentioned something very important, and a lot of it to me now I am a doctor, so I can't expound upon the medical issues that are surrounding exercise. And one of the issues is that just what you said, some of the things that we're bombarded with, the processing of food, the water we're drinking nowadays, our bottled plastic with plastics. A lot of plastics are leaking into our brains because of the amount of plastics that food is and water is packaged in. You also have toxins in the air. The way things are manufactured these days, and there's less there are less laws on our health as opposed as it is to making money. So a lot of your manufacturing puts stuff in the air that's creates a lot of toxins in your body. When you have a sedentary life, a lot of times what happens in that sedentary life, that sedentary lifestyle brings about toxins that sit in your body. They slow your blood down. You mentioned your brain and being able to think. A lot of that has to do with blood flow and the amount of oxygen that's in the blood. And if we're not constantly pumping our hearts to palpitate the lungs, to create the oxygen that goes into our blood, we won't have clear thinking as it is. And you're right, George, it is a lifestyle. You and I definitely have, and Gary too, have been athletes for most of our lives. So it becomes a lifestyle. And for those folks that are not athletes, it should become a lifestyle to you. And there are several different forms of exercises that you can do that would bring about a whole much better health for your life.
Yeah. Those who live in areas regionally where the weather is pretty much mild most of the year, I'm gonna put it just like this: you don't have no excuses. All right. We up here in the Midwest and the North, we use the excuse of cold, ice, and snow. But if your butt lives in an area where it barely gets below 50 degrees, stop. There's always something that you can do. And I mentioned earlier, whether you got some type of ailment or what have you. See, it's not so much about what the exercise does for you on the outside. There's probably very few men who wouldn't want to have, a ripped stomach, a six-pack, muscles bulging all out wherever. But that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what we're talking about. If you end up with the end results of that, hey, kudos to you. But when you're getting the age of 65, 70 years old, that's not the time to just sit back. And as I started this, my little dialogue or monologue, if you will, talking about rocking and rolling. Well, that rocking, just sitting in one place, not going anywhere, that's not necessarily exercise unless you're flexing your feet and doing some things like that to stop that blood from just sitting down there in your ankles. Because as Paul said earlier, it's all about keeping that heart pumping the blood. And to the point that you're not developing blood clots and things of that nature, you have to keep moving. Don't want to get too far in the weeds with this thing, y'all, but you hear it all the time about people dying in their sleep. And unless there's an autopsy or something done, we're over here unknowingly applauding, saying, yeah, he died in his sleep. They went peacefully. No, that is not the way to die primarily, okay? Because we've been miseducated, if you will. There's certain ways about how you sleep, the exercising and stuff. People get into a sedentary lifestyle after they so-called retire. Oh, I hate that word. That word has killed a lot more people than we ever realized. Because this retirement in our mind, we transfer that to our bodies and we get into a sedentary state and we sit for hours without movement. Men, I'm talking to you primarily because we'll sit during these times of football and playoffs and stuff like that. The average game lasts 3 or 4 hours, and you'll sit there in either that rocking chair or on that sofa without any movement. That's what's killing us. All right.
And that is what's killing us, Gary, because you really, if it's sitting at a game, for instance, 3 hours, you really need to be getting up and moving around every 30 minutes. 30 minutes is a key number that I would use in terms of tackling that sedentary lifestyle. And there's a lot more involved as far as football games, basketball games. We're on our phones most of the time. I sit and watch people when I go out to different places, and folks are on their phones, and they're just sitting there on their phones for a long time. And one of the key things that you mentioned, Gary, is the fact that while you're sitting there, we have clots in our bodies all the time. What makes the clots move is our movement and the ability to flush those clots out. And there's a couple other things that allow clots to leave our bodies or whatever, but you don't want those clots to accumulate. And if there's not a steady flow of blood flowing through your system, those clots that blood tends to sit. And as that blood tends to sit and coagulate, that's where you get these clots from. The other thing I'd like to add is a lot of people that have sedentary lifestyles have big stomachs due to accumulation of cortisol. And cortisol does a number of things. In a lot of older people, cortisol keeps you from sleeping on a regular.
Oh, you just hit your mute button.
Yes. Yeah.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So my lips were moving, but you couldn't hear a thing.
You got to keep your fingers still if you're gonna talk, man.
Well, we're talking about exercise now. But what I was saying that was so sorely missed was the fact that while people are sitting watching television, it's always a good idea to get up every, let's say, 30 minutes or so. Because what happens is when we sit there, we don't realize that we carry blood clots in our system on a regular basis. What keeps the clots from creating havoc with your body is that the blood flows on a regular basis. When you sit and the blood is allowed to stagnate, those clots form and they develop thrombosis, which can stop your heart, can stop your breathing, and kill you. So it's quite necessary if you have a sedentary lifestyle. Just think in terms of getting up, moving every 30 minutes or so. You know, if you find yourself sitting at a football game or a basketball game. The other thing that I was talking about was cortisol. Cortisol, with people with sedentary lifestyles, there's a proliferation of cortisol because with the lack of movement, it's not allowing for other hormones and chemicals to counteract that cortisol. So what happens? We have bigger stomachs. It's hard for us to sleep at night. When you don't sleep at night, your brain is not operating as functional as it can be. So even for 30 minutes while you're sitting is a very important thing to consider.
No doubt about it. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it doesn't matter, your size or your weight. This could happen to anybody. Like you say, anytime you sit for 3 to 4 hours, that's your routine. You eat dinner at 6 o'clock. You go down and you go sit down in the easy chair and you lay back and watch the news and you watch, another game show. And then next thing you know, it's 3 or 4 hours and it's 10:30 and it's time to go to bed. Well, like you say, those 4 or 5 hours that you've sat without motion, regardless of that 3 miles you ran in the morning, or that bike you ran and rode in the afternoon, all that stuff is negated, because here again, at our age, we have to do some type of constant motion. And now we're not talking about getting up and jogging around the house, between commercials. We're just talking about standing up, for 30 seconds, during that commercial, something as simple as that. Heart health is so important, at our age, and sometimes we don't take it seriously. We just kind of listen at what the doctor says between these appointments. But, the amount of water that you drink, in the evening, the amount of salt that you don't consume. And here again, it's not about the salt that you shake on the salt shaker. It's about the amount of salt that's in the food that's, processed foods that we can't really control. I do something I've never done before is anytime I, grab a bottle or a package or, anything, I'm reading the label. I'm trying to see what the contents of this bottle is, because even though they may say it's organic, they may say it's heart healthy and things like that, there's so many hidden things in these foods that we don't know. And, we kind of got to think, if I can't pronounce it, then I don't want to eat it. I don't want to put it in my body.
You go.
So, these are the kind of things that, we have to watch, regardless of, how much exercise we do in the morning. This stuff kind of, goes away in the evening. So we have to be still as diligent in the evenings to watch, like I say, how much water we drink. We want to make sure we get enough water in our body, at certain times during the day, certain times during the evening before we go to bed. We want to make sure that we don't, eat a lot of salt, a lot of chips and things like that have salt in them. So these are the kind of things that we, at this age, you have to look forward to. It's not just like you say, sitting back, doing nothing because you did something earlier that day. You've got to continue to do this, on a consistent basis, because there's, heart health is so important, and those are the things you got to watch.
Yeah.
And speaking of heart, go ahead, Gary.
No, I was going to say, with the importance of water, water is very essential to the blood flow. If you don't drink enough water, many people are dehydrated and don't even know it. If you're getting up in the back, going to the bathroom, you look and your urine is dark, yellow, dark brown almost, you're dehydrated. Okay, that's number one. All right, so you should pay attention to those things. There's signals our bodies will give us that'll let us know the things that we need to do. And that's one of them, just as simple as that, looking at your urine. Because if it's dark, that means you're dehydrated. And if it's dark first thing in the morning, that means that you've been dehydrated all night. So the nocturnal recovery period that your body is supposed to receive during sleep, you're not getting it. So what does that do? That puts more pressure on your heart. Here's another simple thing. Most people, I won't say most people because I'm not in most people's bedroom, but here's the point I want to make. Those that sleep on their right side, you're putting your heart to more stress and more work pumping that blood, all right, as opposed to sleeping on your left side. I don't take our word for it. Again, I'm not a physician. PC is, but I'm not a physician. So go look it up. What most people are going to do is Google it, go on YouTube. I encourage and urge you to do just that. When you get through listening to this episode or watching it, go look the stuff up. Learn about what you can do to save your life, because they're telling us that you're dying from natural causes just because you died in your sleep. That is not true, ladies and gentlemen. Please, that's not true. I know personally people have done just what we're talking about here. Went out, did gardening, whatever the heck they did. So come home, sit in that daggone chair and leave here. Die. Go upstairs, get in their bed before they go to bed, sit down in the doggone chair and die. And it can be preventable. It is preventable if we just take control. You're going to hear this all of 2026, especially coming from me. You must participate in your own rescue. You must. Because if you continue to allow the doctors and continue to allow society and the advertisements and all that other stuff control your decision making, is going to shorten your lifestyle, shorten your life longevity, put it that way. So we want to encourage everybody, man, just, keep it moving, as the saying goes. Keep it moving. Find something. And you don't have to, like I think George said it, you don't have to get up and do jumping jacks during the commercials and all that sort of stuff. I do primarily a lot of more chair exercises because of a back injury I've had and other injuries and things that I've had over the years and stuff. And so simple chair exercises are good. Stretching is critically important. Okay, so whether you have a bike or not, if you got two legs, you can exercise.
And you don't have, and if you don't have two legs, you can still exercise.
Yes, you can.
One one of the
Different.
one of the exercises that I rely upon, and I'm getting back into it myself, is Tai Chi.
Yes.
And I talk about Tai Chi because Tai Chi is the exercise that does not have a whole lot of resistance. As a matter of fact, if it's uncomfortable, if it's painful, you're not doing the Tai Chi right. And I think for older people, I think that's key because we have a lot of pain and aches just on general principle, just on being old. And so we need an exercise that augments where we are in our lives. So if you can jog 5 miles, that's fine. If you can walk 5 miles, that's fine. Heart rates are important. You want to, during exercise, you want to get your heart rate up to about 140 beats per minute. Your heart usually beats, for normal people in a general sense, is 75 beats per minute. But you want that heart to exercise so it can be strong. If it doesn't exercise, it's like exercising and lifting weights with your arm. Your arms don't get strong unless you have some kind of resistance. But with Tai Chi exercises not only your muscles, but your organs. And squeezing the organs, having some kind of movement about your organs, whether you realize you're moving your organs or not during the Tai Chi process, that Tai Chi works. Swimming is another thing that I like to do. That exercises every muscle in your body. You mentioned chair exercises, Gary. Chair exercise is a legitimate exercise. And by doing it so many weeks, you'd be surprised the way your body changes if you just do it on a regular basis. So I agree with you, Gary, wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I just want to add one other thing is here again, because I was, talking about, what the different processed foods and things of that nature. But you also need to be aware of the good things that you can put in your body, like berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, things like that, that have a direct impact on, your body and the makeup of your body. They support brain health. They boost your immunity system, things like that. Avocados, they're heart healthy, help your heart stay strong. Fiber, potassium, things like that. Apples, you should eat. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's a true statement. You need to put those kind of things in your body, on a daily basis. When you go to the grocery store, that's where you need to be spending the bulk of your money. Because I know that's where I spend mine, is where, we got more vegetables in our grocery bag than anything else. Bananas, potassium, oranges, famous for vitamin C, and I can go on, and a lot of these fruits are, seasonal, so maybe you find some vitamins that, kind of give that same boost to your system. But those are the kind of things that you have to watch. So when you're sitting up there, looking at TV at night and you're getting up and doing your jumping jacks, then you want to grab an apple and put it in your mouth. Sound like some fun times, right? Well, it ain't that bad. It's not that bad.
Not at all. Not at all.
Kind of, just to kind of get in mind is some of the things that, some of the habits that we need to have in order to stay around and enjoy grandkids and things of that nature. But that's kind of what I have to add to it.
And one of the things you also added, George, is the fact that looking at labels when you do go shopping for groceries and food and different things of that nature, you definitely want to get away with processed foods. That's a killer. All right, and we probably can have a whole nother podcast on labeling and what those labels mean. Certain symbols on the labels mean certain things, whether it's organic for real, or whether it's organically processed or whatever it is. You have labels, you have numbers, you have all sorts of things on those labels. And it would be a good idea to understand what those labels stand for. and what goes into that product that you're about to purchase.
You know, I have there's a limitation, and I probably don't have any basis for this, but I think about labels. I'm sitting here looking at my little glass of water here. Now this label has, this is water supposedly, and it has mountain, whatever the heck it is, Ice Mountain as the label. Now, this bottle of water could also be a bottle of arsenic. I take the label of arsenic off and I put on Iron Mountain on it. So you don't really know what the hell's inside the bottle. And so with the corruption and stuff that goes on with some of these companies and trying to get their products sold and moved on the shelf, I take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, yeah, read the label. You know, that's probably about as close as you can get to taking the contents out of the packaging and putting it on our microscope to make sure it's organic, or to make sure it doesn't contain too many milligrams of sodium and all that stuff. So there's a trust factor there. But in your lifestyle and in your shopping activities, as you get accustomed to maybe going to a certain market or a certain farmer's market or what have you. So now if you can engage with whoever the butcher or the person that's, you know, behind that facility, as opposed to doing all your shopping at Kroger's or Piggly Wiggly, then you're going to be able to, what I'm saying, that probably in essence is going to some type of specialty markets and stuff like that. Can that be expensive? Well, compared to what is the answer to that? Expensive compared to what? All right. So does it make more sense to buy an organic a bushel of kale or what have you, as opposed to some regular kale? Well, you have to make that decision. But here's where the choice comes back at the end result. You have to choose your heart. It's expensive also to pay those daggone medical bills that George be talking about. All right. With the prescription drugs and the co-pays and all that stuff. Those things can get very expensive. And there's a lot of senior citizens out here who struggle right now because of the increase of health care and the cost of Advantage Care and ACA and all that sort of stuff. You can choose to pay at the pump, and they say you can pay now or pay later. I would advise you that, hey, you know, spend more money on being healthy. Find ways, either do more home cooked meals, and you can be able to avoid a lot of the processed stuff that you get at the store. Don't think that the daggone restaurants, whether a high-end restaurant or daggone it Denny's, don't think they have you in mind in terms of your health. So the oil that they're cooking your food in is not daggone olive oil or whatever. It's that vegetable oil crap. All right. The cheese and the meats and stuff that they're putting on your deli sandwiches and all this other stuff. Don't get it twisted. All right. That stuff has been processed. A lot of the crap that they putting in there is processed. All right. So what am I saying? It's more expensive to go out. And yeah, you can go to the fancy dinners and all this place or restaurants or what have you, but just keep in mind, okay, without the label being on that nice steak and whatever the hell else you eat, just keep in mind, where did this come from? How was it prepared? And you'll save a heck of a lot more money anyway if you do more home cooked meals, more nutritional meals, because of what? You are in control of your own rescue. You have no control. You don't know what the hell the chef is putting in that stuff in the kitchen back there. They bring it out. It looks good. It may even taste good, but it's killing you.
Yeah. Gary, you raised such a point, because we also want to use our senses. Well, that too. But I'm talking about seeing and smelling and that kind of thing, because as tissue breaks down, it gets darker. And you mentioned this earlier, Gary, about urine. When you have a breakdown of tissue, it gets darker. So when you look at your meat, you want to look to see how light is it, how bright is it, how dark it is. If the meat is bright, 9 times out of 10, they've been using dyes to make the meat look good. You want to smell it. You can smell rot. You know rot when you smell it, because it hits you right in the head. You know what I mean? You want to smell your fish, for instance. If the eyes are cloudy, you got a lot of slime on the outside of the fish. That's a pure indication that fish has been around for a while, and you don't want to eat it. So you really need to use your senses as well, and that'll help you get past the labels. because a lot of those meats that you see don't have labels on them, especially if you go to a butcher shop or a fish market or whatever the case might be. So those are some key things that I would suggest as well.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to also, here again, hit it home a little bit. There are a lot of foods that are banned in other countries that are,
Mhm.
sold here in the United States, Lucky
Absolutely.
Charms, Mountain Dew, farm raised salmon. Even though we know salmon is real good for us, that farm raised salmon has added color, and it's you got to look at the packaging because you don't want that. Processed meats, those kind of things. Anything with red dye number 40 or yellow dye number 5, you don't want it. You don't want those things going into your body, and those are very important. So if they're banning them in other countries, and it's not like one or two different things. There's a lot of different things that we see on the shelves and in people's shopping carts every day, that are banned in other countries. So you've got to look at that. You got to be diligent about that. Like I said, it's so important. We got to take back our health from these manufacturers, because they're not thinking about us. The only thing they're thinking about is the bottom line, which is how much money they're going to make off of us.
Absolutely. Well, fellows, it's come to that time where we have to say goodbye.
Now you're going way back. All our company. So I have a word for today.
All right.
Make your life a meditation. Walking can be a meditation. Washing dishes can be a meditation. Bring your observing eye into daily life and see differently.
Well
Sounds
said.
good. Sounds
Well
good.
received.
Yeah.
Amen.
And as we always say on the Crotchet Old Men, if you didn't know, now you know.
Now you know.
You know.
All right, take care.
All right. Peace.
Peace.